Hi, good morning. It's Anya Divine here. Have a look at the links below if you want to know more about me and the workshops I teach and things. Yesterday I painted those daisies in oil over acrylic, and there's another sketch on the easel now that there's another sketch of these daisies on the easel that I've done on a heavy cartridge paper, so it's not as robust as that one was, but I wanted to just kind of show you the detail of how I would place the marks with these flat brushes that I've got. I'll just show you. These burgundy set from Royal and Langnickel are really good for placing the paint down and just scooping it up and turning it and placing it down to describe a petal and things. And I thought it would be a good process to show you kind of close up. Now the thing is, I can't show you the painting and the flowers at the same time, so if you did want to take a screenshot or something like that, you could at least see the position. That's roughly the position I'm seeing the flowers from there, and then you would know what I was painting. In any case, it's kind of just to show you the way that I place the colour down, being as succinct as possible to get the feel of the flower, you know. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I'm going to go behind the iPad now, so see you later. No, I want to make sure that I think it's better for me to do that rather than have the image of the flowers as well. Okay, so I'm probably going to begin by working on this flower here. Okay, yeah, I can manage this. So these are my paints. And I'm going to hold the palette in my left hand, and I've got the oil, the Zest It, which is that's an alternative to solvents, you know, and it's got a citrusy smell. Okay, now I'm going to begin by finding a little bit more of the dark behind the petals of the flower on the right hand side there. So I've mixed together some ultramarine blue and Van Dyke brown in order to get me a nice dark colour, to really clarify the dark that's in here. So there's like a triangle of dark space in between those two petals, and then I'm just going to find the edge of that petal, and it comes in, there's a step in for the one that's overlapped, and then there's another smaller triangular shape here, and then there's a kind of almost a vertical lift up to the edge of that one, and then this is quite a nice big sweeping triangle with a flat top on it that I can use to explain the space between these two petals. Now the edge that I want to be looking at is the one where the flower meets the background, so I'm going to kind of dissipate the paint out here. Okay, and then there's a little bit of dark here too. I mean, some of this can be identified by the painting of the petals over it, so it's not like necessary to be really pedantic about every tiny twist and turn, only where you are inspired to be that way, you know. There's certain petals that I think it's helpful to really locate clearly, especially where the light hits the petals. There'll be more contrast between the flower than in the background, in those places where the light is hitting the flower and not hitting the background. And I would establish the darks first, so that you can then come in with the thicker buttery kind of lights with the oil paint to paint the really bright petals on there. But in the meantime, I'm still going to work with the semi-dark background here now. See, it actually gets a little bit lighter as we go around, so I am going to make that a touch lighter by putting some pale blue that I had on the palette from yesterday. It's just the mixture that I used for the line in the vase. Remember, I don't know if you saw yesterday's video, but I used ultramarine blue mixed with white to make the line of bright blue that runs around the centre of this vase. I don't know if I'm going to do that today. It might be more about the flowers today. So I made that a slightly lighter grey there. So there's less contrast between the flower and the background back here where the light isn't hitting the flower so much. And that's just keeping my eyes half closed now so I don't get too bogged down in detail, but just finding the significant triangles here. And there's just, yeah, there's a lovely kind of an opening between those two there as well. So you can kind of become a little bit excited then about how you'll enhance the contrast even more when you go to find the brights with the oil paint, with the thicker light oil paint. Okay, so I want to make something for the grey in the flower itself. I mean, although really I reckon there's enough thin acrylic there to represent the grey of the flower petals, and you know, less is more. So if you can get away with doing less, it often captures the essence of the flower and whatever it is that you're painting. If you make fewer marks that are really keenly observed, that seems to me to be key. I'm mixing now some lemon yellow and cadmium red together and scooping it up, this orange mixture I've got, and turning the brush. I'm laying it down now to describe the center of the flower. I'm just steadying myself with my finger on the drawing board there, and I noticed that this has opened up a little bit more overnight, so there's a bit more being revealed now, and it's a bit orange, but it's okay. I'll just find the shape of it first. I'm just looking at the angle of this side, and then it's actually overlapped by a petal on this side now, so that's going to be a little bit different, which I can sort that out with the lighter oil paint. And then with my thumb I'm lifting, this side is darker now, so I want to make it read that way. It's not all very, very bright. There's mostly the brightness is in the central bit, and over here it's quite dark. I could maybe move down to a smaller brush, and you're just using some brown and blue again. I want to get first the really dark bit where the yellow meets the I'm just going to put some sap green into it. I want it to be greenish, not the same as the background. So what I was going to say there is where the center of the petal meets where the center of the flower meets the white petal back here. It's quite dark and it's a different shape, so I can make the shape with the dark paint. Yeah, there's not a dark edge here. That's actually more grey there. So I don't want to disturb that too much. But I need to bring something a little bit greener into that. And then my thumb is going to lift off most of the colour. I'll go back now to a cleaner brush to put some grey in for that petal. So there's the grey of the acrylic underneath, and what I'm aiming to do is to make the same grey colour with the oil paint so that I can cover where before was yellow, this bit here with the underside of the petal, which reads to me as being grey. So hopefully I'm getting the feeling that that petal now is overlapping the yellow. And I could do a similar thing, I think, although it's a lighter grey with the petal that's throwing back here, kind of that one. So I'm going to see if I can manage to create a ridge there that shows the petal going back, and again that it's overlapping that area. Actually I can widen that petal that's opened up a bit too. And then there's a bend at the end of it. It might be that I'll obliterate that in a minute, like you don't need to be doing so much detail, but seeing as I hit the colour on the brush. Now with my eyes half closed, I'm just going to fill in the centre of that, and we'll see then if it's too much detail or not, but I may as well do it when I've got it. So when I've got it in my line of vision, you know, and I can see what needs to be painted to make the shape of this. So that's a lighter grey, and then I'm going to put a darker grey on the inside part of that petal, where it's overlapped, where it's overshadowed by the petals in front of it, petal between it and the window. So I'm just working to get a grey colour again. I'd used all of the kind of slightly darker grey I was working with. So I don't think I had any, well, I had a slightly dark one there, but it's darker again here. So I'm just painting the shape that I see that's shadow on that petal. And yeah. This is far more detailed than I normally get into. I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyway, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can find that same dark grey in other places, and I can see there's a darker grey at the on the underside of this petal here. It kind of runs over there, like that. And then there's one that, well, it's really dark at the top, and then it comes down here. Hi, Maisie. So maybe she learned yesterday that when she makes noise she gets taken out. And this is her kind of relaxing time now before the walk. Okay, she got the message. Alright, so there's a really light petal here. Okay, I think I need to go towards the brighter bits now. And the only thing I wanted to do before doing that was to put some more lemon yellow into the center of the flower there, because it seems to me that it went from being fairly dark to more like lemon yellow, and then back to the more cadmium yellow again. So just putting that in as a central. It's really quite thick, so that it really covers what's underneath. That's okay. Alright, now I'm going to put some white together here on my brush, actually with the lemon yellow. I think sometimes white mixed with lemon yellow makes the white even whiter. So I'm going to do my thing of, I hope you can see okay when I do this, scooping up the yellow, and when I place it here, when I said yellow, I was scooping up the yellow and white mix. I'm going to actually test it on a petal up here first, rather than put it on one that's too close to the central yellow. Yeah, it's okay for that one anyway. And then there's a very thin one beside it. I'm just picking out now the bits that are really brightly seen, caught in the light from the window. I want to actually make it a bit more white for the ones that are standing forward there. Here, you know, they're really bright. So, and there's a new kind of open petal there, so I'm going to just kind of paint this one around where the other petal will be. It might not be necessary to paint the other one. I kind of like to find the clean shape of where the sun hits the whatever it is it's hitting, and in this case it's the petal. So I'm gonna, rather than do the texture there, I want it to be quite a clean light, so I'm pulling the brush down now, loaded with paint, to capture a bit more clearly the edge. It's got so much paint in it though that there's strings of paint pulling over, but that's okay because this is another really bright petal beside it here. Okay, I wonder if you can actually see what I'm doing. Oh good, you can see that petal and flower in Okay, so just each time I move away I'm picking up more bright paint. I could actually probably do here now with some oil. Linseed oil is quite good, you know, for making the paint a little bit more viscous and easier to move about. I picked up a touch of the background colour there. That's why sometimes I like to do the background, all of the background darks with acrylic, and then you can be sure that they're dry when you go to put on the oil paint. Now what I thought here was, instead of mixing the lemon yellow with the white, what I want to do is mix some ultramarine blue with the white, in order that it'll give it a different kind of a quality, but still just be slightly off white, you know. And I'm going to use some of the cleaned zest. Do you know, I think I have actually got some oil in here. It's gold size. You see, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's more for gilding. That's what I'm looking at there. Japanese gold size, more for gilding. So I'm just going to use the clean zest as a way of making the paint a little bit more runny for myself here, because it was just getting that bit too kind of syrupy, you know. There was lines of thin paint dripping around it, and I wanted more to be clear, really clear. So I'm picking up now this ultramarine and white mix, and the white that I use is titanium white. So that's got a slightly different quality. That, you know, to be honest with you, I think that petal is going tilting more down the way there. And then the petal will come down more that way. Taking a chance now because the background is dark there. Just got a touch of background colour in there, so swipe off the paint on the brush and pick up some clean paint and just make sure that the background paint is covered. Again, I don't think I've ever before been so, well, I'm quite focused, but you know, on individual petals I would normally move a bit swifter, I think. I guess it's a little bit awkward with the iPad in front of me as well here, but it keeps me at arm's length, which is a good thing. You don't want to ever be too involved in the picture that you're right up with your nose to the paper. So I'm continuing the brightest ones with the blue and white mix. And you know, if I was to continue with the other flowers there now, that would probably almost be enough. Like maybe just do the one in between those two is also very bright. And of course there was the new one that's opened up here. Okay, I'm gonna give it a go. It's newly overlapping things, but it is quite bright, you know, that one. I think that's okay. And then there's one where the top of it is bending back here. And again, I want to brighten that little panel up where the petal is just peeping out into the light from behind the shadows. But you know, that actually needed to be a little bit darker. That area is not that bright. In the same way as this one down here, which is a pretty shape, isn't that bright either, but I want to paint it in. Just to get the curl. important to emphasize that. To emphasize that curl, I'm going to use the dark background color again, and you know, curl it around, and kind of push it up, because it was actually more curled than I had it. Go back to kind of a yellow grey to get that curl in again, just a little bit yellow into it. Seems a good idea, rather than keeping it blue like the background I just painted. Okay. And then there's, with my eyes half closed, I noticed too that there's a little bit of that same greyish colour here. It's actually a touch lighter than that. So that's going to be, where is it? Yeah, it's kind of dividing bit between those dark and lights. Yeah, like there's more that you could kind of go into even more detail, but I think I want to move on to the other flowers, and I also want to maybe as a final move just do something for the little green bit. You know, there's a green flash there. There's a touch of green at the base of that petal, which probably won't be noticed as green because that grey was darker than probably it should be. So just lighten that bit of grey so that we now know that that's kind of greenish here, you know, and that little section there is greenish. And then the stem. So at the top of the stem, it's got a darkness to it that I think will work with the ultramarine. If I mix the ultramarine blue with the sap green, there's a dark feel to the stem as it meets the bright of that petal. And it's just really at the top as it comes in. Yeah, I think that's okay. I wonder if I'd be getting too finicky, you know, if I were to do this. So my plan there was to try putting some sap green, lemon yellow and white on the brush in order to paint this slightly lighter bit that's there, and at the turn there's significantly brighter underneath. I think that's okay for now. And my goodness, things have changed big time over here. So one flower is totally moved. I'm just going to move it back because I want to see the one that's turned up the way. Yeah, that's quite good. This flower had fallen all the way down there, and I wanted to see that one, and this one of course, and this one. So in a similar way I would work up each of the flowers just like that, and so rather than doing each individual one in front of you, and I probably won't work them all up as much as I did that one, so rather than work each of them in front of you, I'm just going to say goodbye, and I'll see you later on or tomorrow, and I'll maybe put the final image of this painting, this sketch, on as the icon for the YouTube video, you know. Okay, just explaining one flower there. All right, all the best.